Hey everybody, I'm Karen Bryant here with,
Angela Overkill Hill.
and this is What Had
What
Happened Was.
had happened was.
What
Yeah,
Had
I was
Happened
a little late
Was.
this time.
What
Yeah.
Had Happened Was. This is a podcast that Angela and I do. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I'm an anchor with the UFC, and I was just working this past weekend out at the fights in Vegas. And Angie, you are?
I am a fighter with the UFC. I am a strawweight fighter. I haven't been in there for a while, so I'm like, I was a strawweight fighter.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back in there. Unfortunately, I had a fight booked on May 8th, and Rebus got COVID, and now she had to pull out of the fight because she still has symptoms
Yeah.
and her body doesn't feel right. So yeah, now the fight's not happening for sure. So I'm free. I'm waiting. I'm out of fight camp, but I'm staying ready and training. And I know we were just doing introductions. They're like, oh, TMI. We're not.
No, it's great because I was going to ask you about that anyway, because that's the whole
Yeah.
thing. I feel like almost every episode of our show starts off with either when is Angie fighting or congrats on the fight you just had or what happened with the fight because you
What
do get
happened?
booked a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been really unlucky the past like couple of fights. Like I was supposed to fight Tisha in December and then
Yeah.
I got COVID. Then I was supposed to fight Ashley Yoder. It was only a week camp, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And
Yeah.
then that fight got pulled because one of her cornermen tested for COVID. But then we actually got to fight and I won that fight. But then I got booked for Rebus, which I was super excited about. We went all the way to weigh-ins. I didn't get to fight her, and I've been in camp literally up until like maybe 3 days ago. So I'm like, hey, like, well, there's nothing in this, but I was like, hey, and I will be like, hey, tonight,
Well, yeah,
just
you
to
you had that
relax,
pitch. You
decompress.
posted something. What? Well, like won't be needing these anymore with your abs or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, that was my first trip to the brewery. Once I realized I'm not going to be fighting in the next couple of weeks, so it sucks. It really does suck. But the only good thing is that I was looking forward for a reset. Like my body was feeling a little banged up.
Yeah.
And you do train a little better, like with your body and mind when you're not in fight camp. When you're in fight camp, you're just going balls to the wall. You don't
Right.
care because you're worried about the person you're fighting, training harder than you. So you're just going in there, whether you're feeling achy, whether you're not really feeling up for it. So at least I can relax. I can only train when I feel good enough to train, which is probably going to be every day because I don't have a fight. So
Right.
that's just kind of how my body works. It's like, oh, you don't have a fight. Oh, I'm feeling good now.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, it's frustrating, but hopefully I'll get to get back in there a few more times this year.
Well, I hope so too. And you know what? Actually, that gives us just a great entree into talking about the fights that did go down this weekend because in the co-main event, Carla Esparza really had a statement win. This is a woman
Yeah.
who was the inaugural champion for the strawweight. She won Tough 20. And, that was in 2014, which is crazy to think it was already that long ago. Like, I was
I
looking that
know.
stuff up and I'm like, oh, yeah, she was a champ just a couple years ago when we did that whole cute, fun, tough season. And I was like, holy crap, that was a while ago already.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But I do feel like Carla's a woman who doesn't get as much respect as she deserves. So she was up against Yan Xiaonan, who is on a 6-fight win streak, who's won all of her fights in the UFC. And I love this is great because people who don't know, like, we're going to get a little shade here. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but whatever. But
So
so
much shade. I hate talking about strawweights,
I
but
know
I'll
it's
do
hard,
it.
Angie. It's hard. Well, so, okay. So sometimes people ask me about other show hosts and how do I think they're doing? I'm like, oh, they're great.
You're like,
Anyway, yeah, and they're like, "Oh no, that host who does the stuff for the pay-per-views is great instead of me.
oh,
He's great."
So
Anyway, so, but
I gotta get.
yeah, so Yan Xiaonan had more momentum coming in because she was undefeated in the UFC. But Carla was on a 3-win streak herself, and among those wins was Marina Rodriguez, who just beat Michelle Watterson. But Carla has beaten both of them, and so she's on a good win streak. But for some reason, she just doesn't. I don't think maybe because she doesn't play on social media as much, or she doesn't do sexy things. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, Carla just doesn't get as much. I think attention and or maybe positive love as some other girls do. And she's out here winning fights and really won emphatically on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I think it's a lot has to do with her style of fighting.
Hmm.
It's boring, but this fight was not at all.
Right.
Like this was an exciting fight. I feel like a lot of times when you have like these big wins in your weight class, then it just kind of lights a fire under your ass, and you really start focusing in on, okay, what are my strengths and how can I use them to the best of my ability. So with Carla, she's always been a great wrestler, but the girls started getting better at either take down the fence or getting back up. So Carla really had to make a statement here, and I feel like she went and she just focused on it. I mean, she said in her post-fight interview, she went and she focused on her wrestling, and she started chaining together takedowns a lot better. And you saw it, like they were like textbook, like chain, like go for the double, go
Yeah.
to the single, go to the lift, go to the, like she chained it together perfectly and got Xiaonan down every time. So it was a really great testament to like her skill, the fact that she's improving. It exposed Xiaonan because a lot of people are like, oh, she has great takedown defense. But I think with Gedalia, a lot of times she shoots on a person, and then when it's a little too hard, she gasses out. So this was a really big test for Zhao and Yan, and Carla was just like, "Hey, I have better skills than you here. I'm gonna take you there. I'm gonna sit on you, and I'm gonna be relentless." And that was really cool to see because it's something that I want to do in my fights. I want to be relentless. I want to just dominate, and she was able to do that in the best way she possibly could. So
Yeah.
I think that was a great way to just say, "Hey, I'm here. I've been grinding all this time. Now you see me because I fucked this girl up that's never." Oh, sorry, because I feel like I should stop cussing this. Now you
My
see.
mom always cracks up when you do. She thinks it's funny. She thinks it's funny.
Okay,
But
that's
I know people. I
good.
have seen comments where people are like, Angie probably shouldn't swear so much.
I'm like, come on, guys. I'm in a room full of sweaty guys,
Right.
like usually, like every day. So,
Yeah.
yeah, cursing isn't on the top of my priorities to stop doing, but I will try. I will try. But Carla, she went in there, she messed this girl up, screwed her face up, and twisted it up on the ground with that crucifix position. And it was a really big statement to make against an undefeated fighter, someone who, grapplers have gone up against and weren't able to do that to her. So, yeah, good for Carla. I think she deserves the title shot, to be honest, maybe more than Wei Li, just because Carla's been grinding the entire time and she had the belt before. She's already beat Rose
Yeah.
once, so way back, you
Yeah.
know,
To win the
almost
show, to win the title. Yeah.
almost as long ago as she beat me, even though they decided to show that highlight on the fight night, but that's
Oh.
neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So much shade. Sorry, I'm gonna be done with the shade soon.
Well,
But I definitely think Carla deserves the title shot.
yeah, I was going to say, a couple of things because, you know, you fought everybody, so everybody's going to come up because you have the most fights in the strawweight division, I believe, right?
Yeah, probably.
I think you do. No, actually, I was reading that record the other
Oh,
day.
really?
I think you might have the most fights in the strawweight division, or maybe you and Carla are tied now, or something like that. But
I
like,
think it's me and Randa.
or Rand, that's it.
Me
It
and
is random
Randa
because
are
she fought a
tied.
couple
Yeah,
weeks ago when I was on the job. That
yeah.
was one of the stats. So it is right. You're right. It's like 17 fights in the strawweight division or something, which is a lot. Something like that. Yeah, or maybe I don't know. You would know. But anyway, you do guys have the record. So, and it is tough because in your division, we were just talking about this at work the other day. Like, there are so many of you that are really closely matched in skills that I think on sometimes it's like, well, if you guys fought 4 times, who knows how the split would go? You know what I mean? Like, I think there are a lot of girls that are pretty well matched. And so it is hard to kind of just to like break out of the pack sometimes like that. So for Carla, I do think I agree with you. Like, the storyline is great, the rematch idea, to see where they have leveled up, because I know people noticed Rose's improvements more, right? And because she already became the champion again and then won the title back, and the fights that she's had have been so explosive and amazing and holy crap, and you don't have a lot of those holy crap moments maybe in Carla's fights, except like you said, this time, getting her in the crucifix, which by the way, I did one of my after the facts videos, and she is one of only 11 people to get a finish from the crucifix position in the UFC. The
Wow.
amazing thing is Miss Shevchenko, Valentina, has two of them, two crucifix finishes, which is insane because she's that much of a badass. But yeah, there's only been 11 KOs or TKOs from crucifix position, and now Carla owns one of them. But I think that's the whole thing, right? Like Rose has had more explosive fights, and even Zhang Weili, like the fact that the fight that she had with Joanna, and like there are these, oh my God, you got to see him fights where that makes people think that she should be positioned for the title shot more. But yeah, when you look at Carla, who she's beaten, the run she's on, and the storyline of the rematch, it is intriguing. Like, so I'd watch it for sure.
Yeah, I'd watch it too. And like we didn't really see much of Carla striking in that fight.
Yeah.
So it is gonna be one of those things that you build as a striker versus grappler. Even though Rose has so many submissions in her record, that's what they're gonna say. Like,
of course,
Rose has knocked out a bunch of people, she's dropped a bunch of people, and Carla has sat on top of a bunch of people, including Rose. So we'll see what happens. We'll see which style takes over in this title match.
So who do you think would have the edge in that, though? Because oftentimes you would imagine the person that won the first fight would have the edge. But at the same time now, Rose's star is bigger, right? So Rose has got maybe more confidence and ownership of that championship now. Like, I wonder who would have the mental edge going into that.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think Carla's definitely going to be going in there feeling herself after this fight, and
she should.
Really, yeah, and just trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I do think Rose is going to be a lot harder to get in on, and she might go for her own takedown. So it's going to be interesting to see which game plan Rose chooses, because we already know what the Carla game plan is to go and wrestle the hell out of her.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's still a curse word. Wrestle,
I mean, it isn't it?
Wrestle the funk out of her and and try to get another submission. That's like the easiest path to victory. I feel like I still feel like Carla is very awkward on the feet, and she doesn't necessarily see the strikes coming all the time, and she gets hit a lot. Like in the past, at least, she's gotten hit coming in, going for the takedowns, and sometimes she gets a little gun shy because of that. Like, you shoot on somebody so many times and you get nailed on the way in, then you're gonna be a little more hesitant to just shoot in like crazy over and over again, especially if you're like getting rocked a little bit and or getting cut or anything like that. And we all know that Rose has the ability to counter like a mother effer. So that is it's gonna be the whole focus. Try not to cuss. So yeah, it's hard to tell. I feel like Rose has more tools, but maybe after this Carla fight that she's shown us how sharp her wrestling is, and that it's just levels above all the other strawweights, especially now that Suarez is going up to 125.
That's what I was just going to ask you, because, well, and to kind of close out the Rose Carla talk, yes, Carla would also have that reach deficit and height deficit, right? Because Rose has got such long limbs that if she is using her jab and her push kicks and all that stuff, which we know she knows how to use, she could keep you away for quite some time if need be. But yes, so Tatiana Suarez, who we were so to back up a little bit, this weekend on the air, Bilal Muhammad got to come in for his first try, which was so great. I just loved him. He did great, and it was funny because on the one hand I was like, man, that's a little cold, like to put him there with Alan, who beat him. Like, Alan was Bilal's first fight in the UFC.
Oh man, I had no idea.
Yeah, and so then they're the first together at the desk. But it's so funny because I met Bilal only because, like, Alan and I were already friends. I think we were already doing the podcast together, so we were already like really invested in Alan winning that fight. And who's this Bilal guy? We didn't know who he was. So Alan wins the first couple rounds of that fight. I'm pretty sure he'd broken his hand in that one. Yeah, he broke his hand. But so the third round, I remember we're like, this effing guy, like, he doesn't go away. Like, Bilal just keeps coming. We're like, get on your bicycle, Alan. Like, just save the round. Like, do not get, because we knew he won the first two. Yeah. So anyway, Alan wins the fight, and they were telling the story, like, so backstage, or they're at the hospital or on the gurneys and everything. And then they found, I had sent Alan a text telling him that he had gotten fight of the night. And so he and Bilal were like together back there, and he said that Bilal wasn't like really that happy with him, because he just lost the fight. But then Alan was like, "Hey, bro, not for nothing, like we got fight of the night." And then he said he kind of warmed up a little bit, and then they whatever. So I've been a Bilal fan ever since then. And then we find out that he's got such a great sense of humor. Yada yada. Cut 2 years later, the guy's just awesome. So anyway, long story short, we had a great time in the air, and just really fun having him there. And it was really, I told him, I was like, I love actually that I'm part of like your origin story now. Like whenever you say like my first time doing such and such, like I'm part of that story. I love that.
Yeah.
But Tatiana, long way around. Tatiana Suarez came up because when Bilal was giving his picks for the main event and stuff, both of the guys did think Carla was going to win. And because of the wrestling, because he's like, well, she's the second best wrestler, you know what I mean? Because we were talking about if Tatiana's going to go. So do you like Tatiana going up to 25? And how do you think she'll do?
I always encourage, if someone feels like they're losing a bit of pep in their step at their weight class, I always encourage them to go up, especially if they're strawweight.
Especially if their strawweight is really good.
Go over there.
Get out.
Don't need none of that. Stupid wrestlers. But no, I honestly feel like it makes you stronger. Personally, I'm not a big strawweight, and I've never had to deal with those like horrendous weight cuts. And even if you're making the weight, a lot of times you're still you feel depleted. You don't feel like your whole self. You feel way stronger in training. You feel way stronger the week before you cut weight and then rehydrate. Like you just feel like you're in more of a survival mode kind of fight as opposed to just feeling healthy and being able to fight at your normal state. So I get it. Like I get why she would want to move up to 125. I'm wondering what her like walk around weight is, but I know like Beck Rollins, for instance, she is fighting at 125, and she's not much bigger than me. She's like maybe like 10 pounds heavier than me when we're both chilling. But the weight cut was just brutal for her. And like, that was before the boobs.
I was just going to say, I think it's distributed a little differently though.
Yeah, no, the weight cut was brutal for her boobs. Like if anything, she got them once she was like, oh, I got some extra pounds to spare now. So might as well enhance myself.
Well, and it helps the OnlyFans too. So then it all works together.
Yeah, there you go. It all
works together.
Beautiful knot known as Beck. But yeah, like it's hard to be in that in between, because there's a lot of 115ers who would be way more comfortable fighting at 120, and I feel like that might be Suarez. And there's a lot of 115ers who'd be more comfortable fighting at 110, and that's kind of me, So it's like we're so small underneath like 135. Like we're so small that the difference of like 5 pounds makes your weight cut hell. And I get that. Like I totally get it. I think because she's a wrestler, she's gonna do well at 125. She won't have to worry so much about that weight difference and people being able to ragdoll her, because she has the technique to still compete with someone who might be like 20 pounds heavier than her on fight night. So I encourage it. I think if she finds success in her first fight, then that's the route to take, because I also feel like it's a lot easier to, like you were saying, break away from the pack at 125. Like Cynthia Cavillo got in there and she became ranked number 2 after her first fight. So the ladder is a lot easier to climb. If I could, I'd do it. It's a good weight class to kind of jump in there and try to dominate.
It is, and it's funny because like I swear I probably weighed 115 pounds in 4th grade. So like the whole idea of that is like amazing to me. My left leg weighs that much. But yes, Tatiana is, because I would work with her when we used to do UFC Now, and I'm 5'8", so I'm taller. I think she's about 5'5" or so, but her shoulders are more broad than me, right? I mean, she's a wrestler all her life, and this is really built up on her. But yeah, when I could see her sometimes, and her legs aren't real big, but she is broad up here, and because sometimes I would see her and I'm like, dang, yeah, she could get to 15, because that's She seemed
Yeah.
like healthy, but she could do it. So obviously she could do it. But I can see that yes, her frame could support 25. I think and be fine. Like it might
Yeah,
just be that
she
she
looks
gets
like
to
she has
fight
a
close
thick
to her
frame.
walk around weight and feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think definitely for grapplers, it's not as dangerous if you're the one on top.
Yeah.
If you're more of a jujitsu player, then that's when it's like, oh, you're just gonna be throwing up submissions and getting smashed on your back. Like that's maybe not the right route to take.
Yeah.
But if you have a heavy top game, then you don't really have to worry about size as much. Like, yeah, you have to stay heavy. You might get bucked off easier at 125 than you would at 115, but at least you have the strength to hold on and to scramble and all that good stuff. So
right. Well, it's just also too. I think she's just been out some time with the neck injury and different things that maybe her body composition could have changed with not fighting for so long and not having to make weight. I mean, and you're stuff changes when you're a young lady and your body you're turning into a woman. Now you're a woman. I feel like she should be reading "Are You There, God? It's Me" Market. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, fat kind of settles in places that you're not used to. Like I remember when I broke my toe during one of my fight camps, and I got kicked out the gym. They're like, "Don't come back until your toe's healed."
Yeah.
So I came back like maybe 6 weeks later, and my ass got so big.
They're like, "Welcome back, Ange."
Yeah, exactly. It was like a big old booty and then a little pooch on the front, and a little pooch belly and a big old booty. I was just like, whoa, okay, there's my mom's genes coming out.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, not for nothing, but you get to the age where, Mother Nature says maybe you should start making some babies. And it starts putting things places and storing stuff places.
You're going to need that. You're going to need this.
Yeah, totally.
Something to make that milk out of.
Well, I'm just, regardless of which class she's in, I'm glad she's back because she really is a great fighter and she's just been gone too long. So I'm happy to have her back. But I want to know your thoughts on the main event because Rob Font, he really, it was a great performance against Cody Garbrandt. Cody was saying all the right things before this. We haven't seen Cody since last June. He had that knockout over Rafael Assunção, which was incredible. But, Cody's been working with, obviously, Alpha Male, but also Mark Henry. And he's been saying, like, I feel so great. My back is finally healed. And he had a bad bout of COVID. And then he got pneumonia after that. And, like, Cody's been through it with his body. The poor guy. I mean, like, his back was a major thing for a long time. So he was saying all these things in that he had lost the love for the game because of the pain and because of the injuries, and he just, and the losses to TJ and stuff. So it all kind of piled up. And now that he feels healthier, he was saying he just feels better and he's more mature and all this. That said, and that could still totally be true, it's just that he ran into Rob Font, who's just on a tear, right? The guy just has everything working for him right now. He has so much momentum going into this fight and just in general that, it just seems like it's his time. And Rob is doing everything right. And that jab was perfect. He just seemed so much in control of the fight. And I guess we kind of thought it would mostly play out on the feet anyway. But I was happy that Cody didn't get drawn into the firefight, right? Like we were saying, like, even if he starts out strategically, he ends up in like a phone booth fight every fight and sometimes gets knocked out. So I liked the composure Cody showed, and I thought that his chin did hold up to some stuff. But on the flip side of that, it just looked to me that like Rob was a step ahead and just is just really feeling it and like in the zone right now and looks so good.
Yeah, Rob Font, he's been so under the radar, man, and I'm wondering why that is. At least for me, like as like a more casual fan of the other weight classes, I'm not like paying attention like with a fine tooth comb. So someone like Rob Font kind of is under the radar, especially compared to someone like Cody Garbrandt. Like you're watching every move that he makes. You're excited for him when he wins. And who was the other person Font knocked out? Was it Mariah, right?
Yeah, he knocked down Marlon Moraes is the last one. He like swarmed him and got him like fast.
Yeah, and I felt like he should be like a superstar after that. So it is nice to see him starting to get this notoriety and really just show how impressive his jab is, how impressive his boxing is, his fight IQ, his footwork on the feet, the way he stalks his opponents, doesn't really come too close into range to let them like grab him or slip out the side. Like he keeps that perfect like boxing range, so he's able to just like pop him and move and look and then throw a couple 1-2s and move and hit him with the jab as they try to hit him. It was really beautiful to watch. Like I am in awe of his boxing, just of his MMA style in general. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Font does next. But yeah, Cody, I was happy that he did show some maturity there. But at the same time, you have to wonder, is that immaturity what got him the knockout in the first place? Ah! You knew I was going to say it. You have to wonder. And remember that famous quote when I think it was Dana White said, like, Jackson Wink makes all their fighters boring. Yeah. It was, like, way back.
No, I remember that, yeah.
But that's kind of what happens when you make your fighter smarter. You know, like when you make your fighter smarter and you make them aware of, okay, you're leaving yourself in positions to get knocked out, they end up taking less risk than they would have when they made a splash onto the scene and got people talking about them. Because who didn't want to see Cody Garbrandt fight when they knew like it was going to be him or the other guy? You know, same reason right. People love watching Justin Gaethje. It's going to be him or the other guy. So people love watching them fight. And you have to wonder, like, was that his edge? Or can he be the mature fighter that he is now and still knock people out? So that's all I'm saying. Just being devil's advocate. But for the record, I love it when fighters who have gotten knocked out get better at not getting knocked out. So
yeah.
I do love that, and from a coach's perspective, like you have to do that for your fighter. But you always wonder, like I always say to myself, like sometimes I do wish I was that dumb fighter that I was in the beginning, where I didn't realize the risk that I was taking when I would do something or lunge in or do this or that, just because a lot of times going in there with that just insane confidence is the thing that gets you to win. Just knowing that I'm going to go in there, I'm going to throw hard, and they're not going to do anything about it. And that a lot of times that gets you that win. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, it's tough because I agree with you. Like the Cody that we saw on Saturday night will live to fight another day, right? He'll live to fight a lot more days.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't win. And, you know, maybe it's just a question of him needing a couple, because sometimes, you know, when you start to work with a new coach, right? So he's been with Mark Henry for a little while now, but I think the Assunção was the first one, right? So sometimes, you know, when you have a different system or whatever, you need a couple of few fights to kind of get that rhythm of how you mesh the new strategy with the old animal, right? And so that Assunção fight, that knockout came at the end of the first round, right? And so we didn't have to see him work too long. Obviously, we saw him work 4 minutes and 58 seconds or whatever with the new system. So
it was a pretty even round too.
Right. And so it is interesting though, if you noticed in the fight, round 5 was kind of more like old Cody, and it was almost like you could see that he was like strategy, crap, like it didn't work.
It isn't working. Yeah.
Right. And so because and so I know what you're saying, right? Because there is a part of you, like the whole point is, and I even said it, like, and of course then I jinxed it and it went to decision, but I was like, this Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt fight's going to be like a ride at Disneyland. Like you're going to wait all day for it. You're going to whatever. It's going to be over really fast, but you're going to love it. You know what I mean? And then it was like, it went 5 rounds. I was like, holy crap, how did this go 5 rounds? Because Cody never goes 5 rounds. Yeah. But that's just the whole point. He did fight smarter in a lot of ways. But at the same time, you know, so I was like happy for him, but at the same time, yeah, you're like, well, he didn't do what he always does. But even if I think part of it too is that Rob kept him from doing that. That's the whole point too. It's like, well, it's not like Cody, even if Cody, when he wanted to turn things on, and he did land some good stuff, but like Rob didn't. I mean, he was. He came to the desk with us after, and he was punched up a little bit and this and that, but like he was just so much more in command of that whole fight.
Yeah, yeah. And was it the fifth round that he did look a little rocked after one or two of the punches?
It might have been, yeah, because Cody, that was the best round for Cody, was the fifth round, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just like, okay, like he still got some fire in him. Like he can still end this fight. You can never count him out, even if he's down on points. Right. So that was really cool to see too. Just the fact that he was still in there, even though you weren't sure how long he was gonna be in there. Yeah, it's always easy to, I don't know, criticize though a fighter who was on top when they just start having a little bit of bad luck, and like Cody, you can say, oh, he maybe he needs to take more risks, blah blah blah, but at the same time, Font might have just been the better fighter that night.
He's ranked number 3. Cody was ranked number 4. 3.
Yeah, so he's just the better fighter that night, and he had the better strategy. He had this better like speed and power, and he just had Cody's number that night. And like you said, maybe they can fight again, and there would be a different outcome with different preparation, with a few adjustments. But yeah, you never know that until like a few more fights down the road. Like, does he keep losing against like maybe lesser and lesser established fighters, or does he stay in that like 4th ranked range where he's fighting up and comers and smashing them, and then fighting top people and getting beat, or like you never really know what the deal is until a few fights later. So yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. My question for you, because also even Rob was saying, he's not sure what's happening because Cody. Corey Sandhagen is supposed to fight TJ. That's happening in July. I think we said July 24th is the rumored date, something like that. Okay. And then in August, early August, Pedro Munoz and Jose Aldo are fighting because, these guys are still at the top in quote unquote in the mix as well. So, we're not exactly sure what's going to happen because Aldo was there. So I saw him and we were talking to him and he's feeling so much better. And like, he was just showing us some like his neck movement, and because Alan had neck surgery too. And so Aldo was like, and his scar, and he was like doing this thing. He's like, look, he's like, I can do this. I haven't been able to do that in forever, and like without so much pain. And so he was really happy and just excited about feeling good, So obviously, it's a little bit of a tie-up at the top of the division right now. Yeah. But, because that Corey Sandhagen, TJ Dillashaw fight's going to be bananas. Like, that fight's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I was sad that it wasn't on the card I was supposed to fight on.
Yeah. So, I'm curious what, like, in terms of the rest of the card, like, Jack Hermanson, turned things around, and he had a bad first round and then came back and put it on Edmund Shabazian. And at first we were like, because Jack actually had COVID too, and said he had some symptoms because they were supposed to fight, a few weeks ago in Houston or whatever, and didn't happen. And Jack actually had COVID. And so then he was saying like, well, I'm usually so well conditioned that even though I haven't gotten to train in like X amount of weeks, with me losing a step, we'll just be equal now with our conditioning. And we were like, that seems cocky. And then that first round, I was like, ooh, Jack, you might have not wanted this fight. I thought maybe it was too soon. And then he turned it around and was able to put it on him on the ground. But this COVID thing is no joke in terms of like how it can have lingering effects on people. It's too bad you didn't. Too bad you didn't get to fight Hebot. No, I'm kidding.
I know. She's over there posting dancing videos and hanging out at ice cream shops. And I'm like, what are you doing out there? Go lay your ass down so you get better so you can fight me.
Right. Okay, so I have a question for you though. Last thing I want to ask you about it from UFC Vegas 27 though is the fight of the night between Justin Tafa and Jared Vanderaa was the bloodiest. Did you see? So remember Vanderaa got like that divot in his head, and it just started gushing and gushing and gushing. And we're like grossed out because the thing is once you wipe it down, you can see that it's not a huge wound. It just happened to, and it was like pulsating with the blood.
Yeah. It was a little like eyeball.
Right. So
like,
I was fully grossed
eyeball.
out and stuff. So, but my question to you, since you're the fighter, like, what's the bloodiest fight you were ever in? And like, how grossed out were you? Because I'm like, I don't want somebody else's blood in my mouth, in my eyes, all of that. It just seems gnarly.
Man, I can't. I don't think I've been in too many bloody fights. Like I think maybe the Hannah Cypress one, but because I was just on top of her the whole time, it didn't get on me. Once I like cut her up, and then like the Gedalia one, I cut her up a bunch. The Michelle one, I smashed her face up a bunch, but yeah, like I've never had someone like spit blood. Like I've always been kind of jealous of when I see someone get like a really nasty one. Like my girl Elimale, when she was defending her Bellator championship, she hit this girl with this really nice like elbow like down as the girl was trying to set up a triangle and just split her entire forehead open. Like, oh, that's so cool. And then Jessica too.
So
she had
cool.
I know, right? And Jessica back in her Invicta days had like a stupid bloody one. I think it was against Lisa Ellis. So if you guys want to look up Stephanie name versus Lisa Ellis, that's like the bloodiest fight in Invicta. I think it still holds the record. But yeah, I've always been jealous of people who've had these like super bloody fights. Like that's what I'm going for. Every time I throw an elbow, I'm going for that nasty, gushing, bloody.
I just think like, and I know they talk about like, you know, with the grappling, like it just, I know it'll make things slippery and all this.
It always makes me think of that scene in Fight Club.
Right.
Yeah, where Brad Pitt gets on top of the guy and he's like, we just want to train here or something. I forget what he says, but yeah, like.
And then they knock Pretty Boy's teeth out and all that stuff, and yeah.
Yeah. But like, there's the guy trying to kick them out of the basement because they have the fight going on, and he just climbs on top of him and he's like, pissing blood into his mouth, and he's just like, all right, fine. So I always think about that. Like, I always think if I do get cut like that, I do everything in my power to just get on top of them so I can just drip it into their eyes. But I haven't had the opportunity yet.
You haven't had the opportunity. Well, hopefully you will. Hopefully you will have it soon.
Well, hopefully I don't get cut. But
hopefully, I don't want you to get cut. But yeah, like hopefully you can open a girl up. Which brings me to another question. Kid, just turn it. I'm trying to get the kids to turn the heat down for me. Just turn it to the left a little bit. Okay. I just don't know why. I'm sorry, folks. I don't know why it's staying on as long as it is.
I don't know why you're letting the kids touch your thermometer.
I know. Nobody lets the kid touch the heat. It's so funny. I apologize. And so hopefully the noise reduction things work in the editing. Question for you though about I wanted to switch because there was a cornering situation with Valerie Loureda, right? So I didn't get to see the whole fight. I saw highlights and different things, but there was some spinning stuff attempted, and it wasn't that effective. And between rounds, I don't know her. I don't want to give her a hard time. I don't know her. She might be a lovely girl. I don't know. It's just that they were saying like, hey, you know, you're trying all this spinning stuff and all this fancy stuff and it's not working. Like, I need you to just get in there and box. And obviously part of Valerie's appeal is her sex appeal. And she really plays into that. And she plays into that at the weigh-ins and all of that. And so it is obviously a very big part of her game. And she's really young still. She's only like 22 or something. So still has a lot of time to grow and learn. But the corner was pretty hardcore with her. Like, you got to box, you got to cut the spinning crap out. Like, you got to really do the thing.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Like, I think that they probably should have said that to her. But I don't know how you feel. Like what kind of corner do you want? Do you want the hard truth? Do you want them to sugarcoat? Like, what do you want?
Oh, I want the hard truth. Like, I don't know. I've been in too many close fights. I've been in too many situations where I could have won, but I thought I was up or something like that. And you need someone to tell you, like, look, you can't coast, you can't do this dumb shit that you're trying to do. Like, you have, dang it, I did it again. But you need someone to tell you, like, this is what's working, this is what's not working. And he did it in a way where it sounded like he's been working with her for a while.
Yeah.
And he knows what she needs to hear that will tell her, oh, he's serious. You know, like a lot of times, like you can say, hey, we need you to feint more and throw some jabs before you throw that big cross and do this and that. But to a fighter, it can sound like a suggestion and not like a necessity. And he was like, no more spinning shit. The groundwork is atrocious. Cut all that shit out. Yeah, atrocious. He said atrocious. He pulled out the 3 syllables. I was like, oh man, she's getting an earful. He's about to call her by her full name.
I know, right?
Like, yeah. So some people, and like she's 22, so she's probably not as mature as like an older fighter who's been in there a lot, and she needs to be talked to like that. Like there's no way around it. So I think that's a good corner right there. That's a good cornerman. There's a good coach. He's telling her what he needs to hear and telling her what has worked in the past. Like sometimes you can see a fighter start to break in training, and you need to give them that pep talk so they can go and finish out the session. You know, sometimes they want to just storm off because things are frustrating. You can keep trying something and it keeps not working, and you get frustrated and you just want to quit. You know, and they'll just tell you like, this is why you're being frustrated. You need to get in there and do it until you get it right. And that's kind of the energy that I was sensing there. Like, get in there, do what you know how to do the things that we worked on, because what you're doing right now isn't what we worked on.
Isn't what we worked on.
Plan, and you're just spinning over there and getting beat.
Well, right, but I guess and the thing is for people who want to criticize her, they'll say like, yeah, what are you really here for, right? Like, do you like the whole Dana, like, do you want to be an F fighter speech, right? Like,
yeah.
And so I think after this fight, she's probably going to get even more criticism, right? Because it's the first loss too, and this and that. And it to me, I guess it'll be interesting too what comes next, because I think, you know, a lot of people are in it until they lose, and they're like, oh, it just got hard. Maybe I will just go be an Instagram model. And I'm not saying that's what she's going to do, but like, I'm curious how this loss and the performance and what happened will shape what she does next.
I mean, she's only like 2-1.
She's a baby, though.
Like, she'll be all right.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like, you know, a big deal. She'll either disappear or she'll keep fighting and remain on people's tongues, and people will keep talking about her. You know, it's up to her really. But I think from seeing that corner, she's in the right hands.
She's in the right hands, exactly. Yeah, American Top Team. Yeah. Yeah,
they're not gonna sugarcoat things. They're not gonna let her walk into another fight unprepared or without fixing the things that she didn't do well in this fight. So yeah, I think she'll be all right.
I mean, yeah, she'll be. If she can fix some of that stuff and still then, you know, get the hotness going, then people will be excited. Now I'm curious too, because I didn't get to see the Cyborg fight with Leslie, but I just saw like some of it, and I saw that it seemed to, you know, she was so frustrated because it was like 4 minutes, like 10 seconds left in the 5th round. And like I said, I didn't get to see it, but like, I didn't know if she was just more mad that she didn't get to make it to the bell, right? Because that was her thing. She's like, I was still fighting back, right? I wasn't done. Like, even though you know, okay, maybe I'm going to lose to Cyborg, I think there is that victory and at least go in the 5 rounds. Like, so that sucks that it was only 10 seconds left.
I know, but like, imagine the damage that could have happened in 10 seconds. Like, she was stuck. She wasn't fighting back. And, I mean, that's why they stopped the Carla fight. Yeah, she wasn't, like, Xiaonan probably could have gotten elbowed there for 5 minutes, but what good does that do anyway? Right, you know, she's not going to get out. She's going to be there getting elbowed. You know, once you get to that stalemate position, I think it's good that the fight gets stopped.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary damage, like not only getting little brain damage, little baby concussions from getting punched. And I think a lot of people don't realize it's not just the punch, but it's the head bouncing off the canvas.
Right.
That also like adds to that like brain shaking. And I think that's why like football players, like they get the CTE, their their head is bouncing off of the ground, and
Yeah.
their brain is shaking
Yeah.
around. It's the same thing when you're getting ground and pounded. Like, it's not a good position to be in, taking more damage than you need to. So yeah, I know Leslie is super tough, and she
Yeah.
would die in there,
Yeah.
if she could, because that's how tough she is. She doesn't. I feel like she just is one of those people who never give up. Like, they
Right.
never stop working towards their goal. Be it a fighter union, be it winning a fight, be it
Yeah.
just making it to the bell. She never quits.
She's
So
feisty.
yeah, she's a tough cookie, man. Like, I have mad respect for her for
Totally.
going in there and lasting that long and putting up a fight, against Cyborg. Like, I don't think anyone thought she was gonna win, just
Uh-huh.
because Cyborg is such a force to be reckoned with. And,
Right.
Leslie is coming in there like undersized a bit. She used to be a 135er.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think people didn't know what to expect, but I don't think people expected her to stay in there and be in there that long and just, like, meet fire with fire. So
Yeah.
yeah, mad respect for Leslie.
Well, it's interesting because now you give me lots of questions, Angela. You make me think about a lot of things.
How do I?
Yes, because have you had a fight where you might have lost, but you still found a victory in the loss? Because, like, that's what it feels like. It's something that we say all the time, like, "Oh, buck up, camper!" But you did this, or "Hey, you won a
Yeah.
couple rounds," or you did this, and it can be true. And I know, but I know a lot of fighters are just like, it doesn't matter because, like, I didn't win. Like, they won't
Yeah.
see any victory in a loss at all. And then
Mhm.
other people are able to be like, yeah, you know what, whatever, I lost, but this time I really, like, my ground and pound was better, or they found something. Like, are you the type who is able to at least find something positive in a loss, or no?
Yeah, but it always feels better to win, obviously.
Totally.
Um, but yeah, it's a necessity, because if I focus on all the bad things that happen in the fight, it just makes you want to quit.
Yeah.
So you have to focus on the good at least a little bit. Like, people always say, don't blame the judges, for the loss, but it's kind of a necessity, because I know I did good things in the
Mhm.
fight. And if I don't, like, look at the positives of the fight, then that's me just losing my confidence, losing hope
Yeah.
that that won't happen again, and losing that drive to get better. It's like, at a certain point, if you do everything that in your power to win a fight, and you feel like, according to all the rules of MMA, you should have won that fight, and you don't, then you can get to that point where you're like, what's the point of getting better?
Yeah.
Like, if these three guys can tell me that I lost a fight, what's the point of getting better? What's the point of training? I should just walk in and just see what
Yeah.
happens, as opposed to,
Right.
like, trying to improve and become a better fighter. So I have to look at the good things that I did in a loss. Otherwise, you lose hope. So I think the one where, like, I was definitely like, oh, that was on me, was the Andrade fight.
Uh-huh.
And I walked into that fight pretty confident, just because I had my 4-fight win streak in Invicta,
Right.
and I watched Andrade have, like, maybe one or two fights at strawweight, and I was like, okay, she's not that big and bad at strawweight. Like, she's hittable. She doesn't keep
Yeah.
her hands up. Like, all right, let's go. And she just, like, volume, like, she out volumed me, and I
Yeah.
think that was the main thing that happened in that fight. But I was there the entire fight. I dropped her, like,
Yeah.
once, and I feel like it was just an exciting fight. It was my first time getting fight of the night,
Yeah.
and everyone was just like, "Oh my god!" And it was another one of those fights where no one expected me to win. Like, they're like, "Oh, Angela Hill, she's gonna get fucked up," you know. They're bringing her in to get fucked up, so Andrade can fight Joanna, So
Right. Right. Right.
so I think that was part of it too. The reason I got fight of the night was because no one expected me to be able to hang with Andrade, and I was able to hang with her. I was able to hurt her. I cut her up a bit too,
Yeah.
and at the end of the night, I got fight of the night. So like, obviously, I was pissed about it. I was pissed about losing, but
Yeah.
having that little asterisk, like, oh well, got fight at night. It was an awesome fight. A lot of people gained a lot of respect for me after that fight. And the people saying, Angel Hill's going to get fucked up. We're like, oh, Angel Hill's pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to say, because your stock can go up even in a loss sometimes.
Go up in a loss, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So that's definitely something that happens. It's definitely something that, fighters recognize. But you don't want to get too comfortable patting yourself on the back for a loss because you still don't want to lose. So
right. Okay, but would you?
There's always a loser. So if it does happen to be you have to look at the bright side.
Right, and I would imagine the. This is a weird question. Is what's the best way to lose? So by decision, because you could be like, the judges messed up. Like, is that the best way to lose, by decision?
There's no good way to lose. Even
it's got to be though, because at least you didn't get finished, right? At least you didn't get whatever. So I would think split decision loss has got to be the most frustrating. You would know.
It's it's frustrating, and I don't know if there's a good way to lose because at least when it's like, okay, you need to fix this, and that, I have control over. I feel like I have control.
Meaning, if you got submitted, if somebody armbarred you, that's at least something more tangible to say, oh, I got to work on my armbar defense.
Exactly. Like you have a clear path to like victory for the next fight. So it becomes a little more abstract when you get these like close fights or these,
especially when it's like 30-27, 29-28. 27-26. You're like,
what the fuck are you guys watching? Like, are you judging the fight before me or after me, or what happened?
Right.
It's really frustrating to lose that way, and I think maybe that is the best way to lose, just because it forces you to become more of a finisher, and it forces you to dig deep. Like Carla. Carla is a great example. She's been in a lot of close fights. She's gotten draws, I think, maybe. Well, no, I don't know. But she's been in a lot of close fights.
Record here, yeah.
And I think there was at least one or two where I thought Carla won and she got robbed.
Yeah.
So I feel like that definitely put her on that path to like, okay, I'm going to start finishing fights.
Yeah.
And I need to figure out how. And it might take a while. I'm still working on it. Like, and I think anyone who's been robbed is like, I need to finish this fucking fight because I'm tired of people telling me that's the only way to not.
Right. Well, that's what happened to Masvidal, because Masvidal, I remember talking to him about it because, he had gotten so many split decisions and weird things. And I think he even went and like had a meeting with judges or something. He's like, what the heck are you guys even looking for? Because, like Masvidal's a badass. And it's like, this is a dude that was throwing down and all these things and was losing these decisions, split decisions and stuff. So, I can imagine that would be really frustrating. And especially when one judge sees it 30-27 and then somebody sees it like the other way, 30-27 or something. You're like, what?
Yeah. What do you guys, where did you get your judging credential? Like what online like school did you go to?
Okay. So I know we got to wrap it up in a little bit, but do you want open scoring? Because I actually think that could be kind of cool. I mean, I know some people say the detraction from that is if you knew you were way ahead, like would a fighter stop engaging if they knew they were, let's say it's a 5-round fight and they know they had already secured 4 rounds, right? Or 3 rounds. And they're like, well, then I'll just coast and try not to get knocked out or finished or whatever. But at the same time, I do think like, I'd be okay with it, I think. I don't know what you think.
I think more often than not, you're going to create more exciting fights than people that are going to coast. Because if anything, don't focus on the fighter that's 4 rounds up. Focus on the fighter that's 4 rounds down.
Right.
Like they're going to be trying to take that guy's head
off. They look at the thing like, oh crap.
Yeah, they're gonna go Cody Garbrandt on him, at least in the first 30 seconds. Right. And then if that doesn't work, they might get pieced up later. But I don't. That argument's silly. Like people do that without knowing the score. Like the type of fighter who will do that has already done it. And a lot of times they pay for it. Like the Holly Holm Miesha Tate fight, she paid for coasting in the last round, let her guard down for a split second, and Miesha jumped on her back and choked her out. So I definitely that would be an issue. I think it would create way more exciting fights. Like I can only imagine if I knew going into the fifth round against Michelle that one judge gave her 3 rounds.
Well, you might step out of the ring and then go beat down the judge and then come back.
Yeah, I go, hold up, which one did that? And I
what
go
happened with your scoring?
To that judge and just fucking hockey punch her in front of his face. That's what I would have done, and I could have done it. Like I look at the last 30 seconds of that fight pretty often, and I'm like, I could have done that the entire round. So that's like another like, you know, you see the good things in the fight and you're like, I could have been doing that the entire round.
Right.
But open judging, I think, would definitely help instances where maybe you do need that extra, like, okay, this is it, you know, like this is it, like you're up 2 rounds or you're down 2 rounds, like you got to put it all into this, because a lot of times like the fights are so hard to know who won like each round that unless like you have the play-by-play, like you're not expecting who won which round. And I'm just repeating myself at this point, but they do have it in Invicta, and it was pretty telling. Like it made things make more sense, and especially when a judge will see a round differently than another one, it's just like, okay, well, maybe that's a little confusing, but at least I know what to expect in this round 3. Like at least I know what I have to do in order to secure a win. And I think that it just takes the confusion out of it, having that immediate, like, hey, you lost that round. And then you're like, what? Like, I thought I was messing her up. All right, I got to mess her up more this round, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think it would be cool. I'd love to know what people think, if they want to leave a comment about open scoring and open judging, if you think you'd like it. Because, I mean, and it's funny because it's so weird. Like, you know, like I said, I play tennis. I'm on a tennis team, and it sucks because I could win a match, right? Or I could lose a match, like 6-0, right? Or 6-1. Now, every single one of those little games within, I might have gone to deuce 5 times. Like even though it could be super, super close, but at the end of the day, it's just like 1-0, 2-0, 6-0. And like, so it is frustrating. Like there's a part of me that sometimes when I come home from tennis, I'm like, but the score doesn't really indicate what happened. See, because what happened was, you know what I mean? And so literally, so like, I'm frustrated too, because like you see the score and you're like, but it doesn't tell the story. You know what I mean? And so it's frustrating, but like, I know obviously what the score is and stuff, but I would think knowing the score would more often than not light a fire under somebody's ass or whatever. Or even if you're the dude coasting, you're going to be like, oh crap, this dude's gunning for blood now. Like, so you're still going to have to compensate for this other person's activity, like whatever. It's going to be crazy. Anyway.
Exactly. If it's a close fight, like they're going to come out even harder.
Right. So here, Ange, we maybe should wrap it up because I forgot to hit our timer right at the very beginning and I missed it by a couple minutes, so I don't want to go over too much.
Oh, no.
But so on Instagram, I am KB Heat. Everywhere else, it's Karyn Bryant, Kary, and Bryant as in Kobe, no relation, but may he rest in peace. Angela, where can they find you?
You can find me at Angie Overkill on Instagram and Twitter, and at Overkill Hill on TikTok.
And buy Angie's merch. You got that new T-shirt coming out, right?
Oh yeah, the BFS T-shirt. I'm not gonna say the actual name because I'm not cursing this episode.
Right. All right. Cool. Well, folks, should check it out. This show is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Just look for What Had Was. Tell your friends. We'll see you next time.